You are all set, Senator Gray.
Okay, thank you. Welcome. I'm Senator James Gray. Today we will be having a public hearings. Actually, we're going to be having an exec session on Senate bills. Before I get started, I will read through the checklist to ensure that the meeting that we are holding is in compliance with the right to know law. As chair of the Senate Election Law and Municipal Affairs Committee, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's executive order number 12, pursuant to executive order 2020-04 and its extensions, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. In accordance with the emergency order, I'm confirming that we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone, with additional access possible by video and other electronic means. We are utilizing Zoom webinar for this electronic meeting. All members of the committee and selective legislative staff have the ability to communicate contemporaneously in this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously watch or listen to the meeting on Zoom, YouTube, and via the phone by following the directions and links provided on the General Court website. We have provided public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting on the Senate calendar. We are providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anyone has a problem, please email remotesenate@leg.state.nh.us or call 603-271-6931. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting, we will adjourn and reschedule. Please note that all votes taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Finally, let us start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state where you are and if anyone else is in the room with you during the meeting, which is required under the right to know law. And I will call the roll. Senator Birdsell.
Senator Birdsell is here. I'm in my home in Hampstead, and I currently am alone, but my husband's upstairs in the office and will be walking through periodically.
Senator Ward.
I'm in my home and started. I'm alone in the room.
Senator Susie.
Hi, Donna Susie. I am at my home in Manchester and I am alone.
Senator Perkins Coca.
Yes, sir. Senator Perkins Cook. I'm at my home in Portsmouth and my family is downstairs.
And I am Senator James Gray. I'm in my home in Rochester and currently alone in this room. All right, so we have a motion, I think, to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Great, seconded. I'll call the roll. Senator Birdsell.
Yes.
Senator Ward.
Yes.
Senator Susie.
Yes.
Senator Perkins Coca.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. All right, thank you. We have two FN bills, SB 85 and SB 86. Without objection, I intend to take 85 and then take 86 and then go back through some of the other bills that are out there. And do I have a motion on Senate Bill 85?
I move ought to pass.
We have a motion ought to pass on Senate Bill 85. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Senator Ward seconds. Okay. We also have an amendment out there. Does somebody want to move the amendment?
So moved. Ought to pass.
Senator Birdsell moves Senate Amendment 2021-03-05S, seconded by Senator Ward. Okay, discussion. Seeing no discussion.
I'm just looking at the amendment one last time.
No problem. I can wait. I've got Oreos and milk, you know,
Good
for
for
my
you.
dessert.
I guess the only concern that I would have is it does appear that Senator Bradley did away with the Commission for Broadband Expansion. And I'm not sure why.
I guess
Because I thought it was supposed to be modeled after the Drinking Water Commission from last time. That's the only concern.
And we're on, Amendment 0305S.
Yes.
there are a number of people out there.
Mhm.
Senator Bradley is one of those people. So if we can promote Senator Bradley, maybe we can get him to comment on your question, Senator Susie.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Bradley, you're all set.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I recall, the suggestion of a commission was Senator Khan's suggestion. It was never in the bill I introduced. So I didn't include it because I think it's really important that whatever funding is available, and I hope that there will be funding available, gets utilized as quickly as possible. I've tried to incorporate all of the concerns, if you will, that Senator Khan raised. But if you recall from the hearing, I said that I thought speed was a major concern given the paucity of broadband in many areas of the state. So that's why I didn't. I think that OSI has, done a pretty good job with the CARES money, given the very tight constraints. So there's a, model in place, if you will, to pull this together, obviously with consultation with the municipalities, a rulemaking process, all of the things that I think this amendment incorporates. But that was the one thing, the one suggestion of Senator Khan's I just thought would slow the process down.
May I ask one further question of
Yes,
Senator
please.
Bradley, Mr. Chairman? The only other question was whether or not the amendment in its current form would allow for funding projects for hotspots.
Yeah, so my understanding is that the broad language already says construction of broadband infrastructure is eligible. So they could be constructed or they could be considered under that definition of broadband infrastructure. I didn't think it was, is that me? I hope not.
I think it's Senator Birdsall.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no worries. So I think it's covered. I didn't think it needed to be highlighted. A lot of towns are already doing hotspots. So it just seemed unnecessary.
So is that something that we could then just include in the legislative intent, perhaps question on the floor that?
Yeah, if you want to ask a question on the floor, that could be covered like that. Yes.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator Perkins Cuoco.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Senator Bradley. I did think we heard a fair amount of compelling testimony in the hearing about setting the floor at 25.3, and there was, a lot of argument in favor of, I think it was 100, and so, if we're going to be bonding projects, making sure that they're relevant over the life of the bond seems compelling to me, and I just wondered if you could talk a little bit more about your process on that, and if you see that as a floor, or there was a lot of discussion that went into that.
So if you look in the amendment on,
Yeah.
I think it's line 14 through 16,
Okay.
the 25.3 is taken out because the definitions already under the FCC call for, speed, to be at least that, is my understanding. And then if you look on page 2 of the amendment, and this line D starting on 4 and 5 was suggested to me by advocates of Carroll County Broadband. So that's one of the groups like in Grafton County and other county that are, trying to do deployment.
Yeah.
Establishment of what promotes faster service. So up to and including a gigabyte. So I think it's clearly referenced that we want to move toward the faster speed because it's going to be more necessary without just saying we're going to do 25.3. So I think that's a good change that was suggested by, both the providers as well as, groups like Carroll County Broadband.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you.
Senator Bradley, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe in the bills that we've had in the past year, what they've said is that our definition of what constitutes broadband goes back to the federal definition, and as the federal definition is updated to include faster speeds, then by association, our definition of what is broadband will also go with it. Is that still the case?
I think you clarified what I intended to say, and that is why it's better not to put 25.3 in, because the way it's now written, whatever the FCC is establishing as a floor would become the floor per Senate Bill 85.
Any additional questions from the committee? Okay, thank you, Senator Bradley.
Thank you.
Seeing no other questions, then we'll call the roll on the amendment. Senator Birdsell?
Senator Birdsell, yes.
Senator Ward?
Yes.
Senator Susie?
Yes.
Senator Perkins Cuoco?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Is there any further discussion on the bill as amended? Seeing none, I'll call the roll. Senator Birdsell?
Yes.
Senator Ward?
Yes.
Senator Susie?
Yes.
Senator Perkins Cuoco?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Do I have a further motion for consent?
Move consent, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Senator Susie and Senator Birdsell move consent.
I just have a question. If we wanted to clarify on the floor, though,
Yeah, you're right, Senator Birdsell.
we can always pull it off if we want, but I just want to make sure that you get what you need.
I think that Senator Susie takes
right.
back her motion.
I do withdraw the motion, Mr. Chairman.
So do I.
I got caught up trying to move things along.
And seeing no other motions, then I think that we can move on to Senate Bill 86.
And Trish wants
They
to
have
know
them.
it out.
Yeah, who's going to take it out, Senator?
Anyone?
I will. I'll take it out.
All right, Senator Birdsell will take it out.
Okay.
Okay, the next Senate bill is 86.
Yes.
Do we have a motion on Senate Bill 86?
Okay.
Hold on. I'm confused.
Here.
Sorry, I'm confused here.
No problem.
Senator Khan's bill, well, it was an omnibus bill.
Oh.
Senator, I'll move ought to pass to get this discussion started because I think there are some questions about the bill or some concerns.
Okay, we have an auto pass motion, seconded by Carol, seconded. Okay, do we have a motion on the amendment? I believe it's 2021-0172S.
I'll move amendment 0172S.
Okay, Senator Bertzel moves 0172S. Do I have a second?
Second. Thank you, Senator Birdsall. I'm catching up with you.
Seconds it? All right, discussion.
Oh. Sorry, my email is not cooperating with this.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up myself. Is there any chance, Trish, is there any chance you could share it?
Yes, which one, you want to share the amendment?
The amendment, if you have it available.
Yeah.
Might just be easier.
The amendment is very brief. What amendment is amend RSA 4-C:43 Roman 3F as inserted by section 1 of part 2 of the bill by inserting after the subparagraph 12 the following, and it adds a line 13 which adds the New Hampshire Association of Realtors to the list of people.
Okay.
Can you see that, everybody?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, and just to clarify for the committee, this amendment was brought at the request of the Association of Realtors. They would like to be a part of this program.
So is there any further discussion on the amendment?
Not in the amendment.
Okay. Seeing no further discussion on the amendment, then I'll call the roll on the amendment. Senator Bertzel,
Yes.
Senator Ward,
Yes.
Senator Susie,
Yes.
Senator Perkins Cuoca,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. And we're back to the main motion as amended. Discussion.
I know one of my towns is supporting it.
Well, this one, just reading, the section 1, part 1 is third-party inspections conducted pursuant to the planning board. It seemed like there was, in best of my recollection, that there was a lot of people who agreed with that had been discussed and reviewed with the committee last year. Section 2, establishing the New Hampshire Housing and Conservation Planning Program. There was some opposition to that, but again, I think it was a small amount of the testimony. And then the third section, prohibiting the installation of certain commercially available heating systems, which again, had some controversy, but personally, the Conservation Planning Commission, I don't have a large problem with it. I think that can be helpful. And I do not at this time want to see any community that wants to ban all forms of energy that would cause some carbon to be, put into the air. I think it's, especially if we're talking about affordability of housing, if we're talking about the winter storms like we had recently, where if we went to an all-electric system, that people would not be able to do that. It is much easier if you have a generator to hook your oil-fired heater up to a generator, and so that it can run during power failures. So again, part 3, I support because of the jobs, and I support it because that there are things that I can, if I include a lot of these things, that it can have a very negative impact on housing affordability, which is also a major concern right now. So those are my thoughts. And Senator Perkins-Coker.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I agree with a lot of what you said. I did share, I received a few phone calls from proponents of the bill. I did share some concern that it does tie municipalities' hands to some degree, but that does need to be balanced with, as you point out, making sure that we're keeping costs reasonable for homeowners. And certainly on the point of requiring complete retrofits of someone's heating system, that would definitely be a concern on the housing affordability front, as well as in new construction, prohibiting certain types of energy. But on the other hand, if there are communities who, after significant master planning or, public discussion, did want to pursue lower emissions, this just felt like a very broad tool, or broad prohibition on that. And so I did hear that Cordell Johnston from New Hampshire Municipal Association might have a couple of comments or language that could be brought to this discussion, or might not, just to address that limited point. But I'm not seeing any or hearing about any for today. So I can also follow up with that to see if there's any possibility of a floor amendment. But otherwise, I agree with your comments, Chair.
I don't know. Let me look on the list of attendees. Looking quickly through, I don't see Mr. Johnson as listed. Oh, there he is.
Cordell is there.
So Senator Perkins-Coker, if you want to ask Cordell Johnson a question, I certainly would entertain him being allowed to answer for you.
Sure, if I could, Chair.
Cordell,
Okay, hi Cordell, thanks for joining us.
Sure.
I did have a couple of conversations after the public hearing, and I just wondered if you had a chance to perhaps look into any additional language that might, might narrow this prohibition on municipalities' actions a little bit, or whether that had been unsuccessful.
Yes, and thank you for the question. I did. I talked to Bob Scully, who represents some of the oil and propane companies, about whether there was something we could come up with. And frankly, I have not been able to come up with anything. I mean, as I indicated at the hearing, our concern was any time that you are limiting municipal authority, existing municipal authority, we have concerns about that. But I don't think I'm a fanatic. I recognize the concerns about the cost of heating systems, and I guess I just think it's a question for the committee to balance what you think is more important. The only thing I can think is to limit it to say that you can't require retrofitting, as someone mentioned. But I don't get the impression that limiting it that much would satisfy the supporters of that part of the bill. So I just, there are good arguments on both sides, and I would just leave it to your sound discretion to what you think carries the day.
Thank you.
Senator Birdsall, I saw your hand.
I just want to make a comment, and typically I'm in favor of keeping the municipal, giving the municipality their due and allowing them to make the decision. But I think in a case like this, where it really affects the homeowners, and in some cases, some of the low income, and requiring them to change over their heating, I am going to side with the actual homeowners in this case, and the individuals, because if they want to do it, then they have every right to change their heating over. If they can't afford it, I don't think that municipalities should be making some of them do that. So I'm in favor of this particular, I think it's section 3. So in this case, I'm going to side with the individual homeowners.
Okay, are there any other questions for Cordell before I relinquish him to the attendee list? Seeing none, thank you, Cordell, for your input. So we're back to the committee.
Mhm.
Myself personally, I just can't. I would support section 3 because of its impact on the housing and other issues that are out there. I think that we're too soon in the technology to do certain things like that. If there's no other comments, then we can get to voting on the bill. Seeing none, I'll call the roll. And this is the bill as amended. Senator Birdsall.
Yes.
Senator Ward.
Well, I have a question before I vote because I had
Oh.
to step out and get something.
All right.
Are we just voting on eliminating 1 and 2 and just voting on the bill in number 3?
We're voting on all of the parts of the bill, 1, 2, and 3. The one amendment was to add the New Hampshire Realtors to the
Right.
list.
I have that.
The only amendment that's out there and currently before the committee is all 3 sections of the bill.
So we're voting on all 3 sections.
Ought to pass as amended with the realtors amendment.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fine. I'll vote yes.
Okay. Senator Susie,
Yes.
Senator Perkins Quokka,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Is there anyone that wants to speak to this one on the floor, or do you want to move consent?
Move consent.
Consent.
Okay, we have a motion for consent. Any discussion? Seeing none, Senator Birdsall,
Yes.
Senator Ward,
Yes.
Senator Susie,
Yes.
Senator Perkins Quokka,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes for consent. And I guess I'll take this one out.
Oh, okay.
Senator
Unless-
Perkins was on it.
Yeah, I was offering chair, but
Oh,
you would
Yes.
like to.
then by all means, we'll have Senator Perkins Quokka. And
Thank you, sir.
You will get the pleasure of the consent calendar blurb.
That's right. It's an honor.
well, I do admit that Tricia does seem to write a good blurb, so
Thanks.
it shouldn't be too awful difficult for your task.
Yeah.
Before I move back to some of the other bills, Senator Susie was contacted right before this meeting with something that probably come up. Right now, it's planned to come up tomorrow, having to do with Wyndham. And I wanted to give all of you a heads up. I don't know what Senator Susie said to the Senator President when she was contacted. But there are people out there who would like to move more quickly on a solution to get the investigation of what went on in the election in Wyndham moving forward quickly. The amendment that I had written to Senate Bill 89, which we have not heard yet, when it got over to the Attorney General's, they had some concerns about not how it would be used for Wyndham, but how it would be used in the future, because it did leave some room in there. The Attorney General has suggested some language that might be used to make Wyndham much easier for everyone and be able to do the investigation. It is thought right now that we would take Senate Bill 43, which we sent to the floor the other day and tabled it, remove it from the table, vote down the ITL motion, bring forward an amendment, and that amendment would be those words that would deal with the Wyndham situation. So again, I'm not telling you what to do, what not to do. Senator Susie has a copy of the language that was reported over to OLS to make the amendment. Trish, I'll make sure that you get that right after this. I think I've gotten a copy of it also now that Senator Susie has seen it. They wouldn't even send it to me until they talked to you, Senator. So just showing, there's a pecking order. But everyone will get a copy of that so that you can review it. Again, I want you to have prior knowledge of it. It is an election law issue, and I want you to understand what's going on and have sufficient time to think about it before the meeting tomorrow.
Mhm.
Okay. Anyone have any questions?
Not a question. I would just say, Mr. Chairman, I do think that the road you were headed down towards a more permanent solution is still something worthy of exploring and makes some sense. But I do understand the urgency in Wyndham with another town election coming up and with such a major discrepancy to try to deal with that in a shorter term. So I'm also contemplating the language and but don't think we should abandon looking further at other possibilities.
I agree wholeheartedly with that. I have long been a proponent for some kind of a statewide audit. It makes it very difficult with the machines that we have right now to do that. But if you're going to have an audit procedure, and once you find something that you want to investigate with that audit, if you cannot go investigate it, then it didn't do you any good to have an audit to begin with. So that is certainly the light that I was looking at when I proposed. But right now, we've still got Senate Bill 89 is out there. It's scheduled for a hearing on March 8th, I believe. And you can, if I'm wrong, I'll be corrected somewhere. But again, that's, the more permanent solution, I believe, yes, does need to happen, especially if we are going to move to some system where we can do a statewide audit. So, all right, that being the case, the first bill on my list, I think, is Senate Bill 46 from Senator Percoca.
Yes.
Yes, sir. And we have the amendment to move.
All right. First of all, do we have a motion on the bill? Senator Perkins Cuoco moves ought to pass, I believe.
I move out to pass, sir.
I'll second.
And we have a second by Senator Birdsell. All right, we also have an amendment. I think Senator Perkins Cuoco wants to move amendment.
It's
0233.
0233S, sir. Yes, I'd like to move that amendment.
All
I'll
right.
second.
And we have a second by Senator Birdsell. All right, would you like to speak to your amendment?
I believe I introduced it to the committee at one of our previous executive sessions. Happy to speak to it again. I think this reflects a compromise amongst the various parties that were interested and addresses everybody's needs. I saw that Deputy Scanlon is here, Deputy Secretary Scanlon, in case there are questions for him. But the intent is to be able to approve electronic poll books for use this year, at least for voter check-in, so that the municipal elections can be sort of the initial use of this technology.
Do any of the senators have a question for Mr. Scanlon?
Has it been used anywhere? I mean, I haven't seen it. This is sort of news to me.
Electronic poll books have been used in conjunction with other systems like the paper check-in list in Rochester, Milford, and I believe there's other communities out there also. In fact, we might as well, if Deputy Secretary Scanlon is out there, he can probably give you a more extensive list than I can off the top of my head.
Sorry, yes.
Deputy Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm here. To answer your question, Senator Ward, a few years ago, there was a law that was passed that created a e-poll book trial program. And the idea was that we would let the towns or the municipalities test these devices and use them at the local level and work in conjunction with an evaluation vendor. That vendor, there were actually two of them early on that were chosen through an RFP process to look at the machines in terms of their adaptability, their security, and their ability to perform on a consistent basis. None of the trial programs actually worked as planned. And we do have a situation in the town of Milford where there was I'll call it a partial trial that was attempted. The evaluation vendor did make some recommendations to the town of Milford in terms of items that needed to be addressed in those machines. We have yet to receive a report from the evaluation vendor, and based on that information, a more comprehensive report from the town that would satisfy the provisions that were in that statute. In the meantime, there have been a number, and I think the number is 4 municipalities in the state that have used a couple of e-poll book manufacturers to kind of test the system, but running it in parallel with the statutory process as far as checking in voters. And what we have found is that it does a couple of things. It helps reduce lines because voters don't have to get in the line that is related to the first letter in their last name on the alphabet. They can go into any line and have their name entered into the e-poll book. And then the other benefit that they've realized is at the end of the night when they close the polls, they can simply hit a couple of keys on the keyboard and the numbers from how many voters checked in and things like that, something that took them hours in the past. So what the language that I worked on with Senator Perkins Cuoco allows us to start to use these devices incrementally. And where we know they work in terms of check-in, the town should be able to use those for that function. In the areas where they still have to be proven, and that would be things like the voter registration process, we still have more work to do. But as we can get the approvals from the evaluation vendor, and we're confident that they're secure, especially from a cybersecurity standpoint, there's no reason why we can't ease into those areas as well. So instead of trying to, bite off the whole, I don't know what you want to call the whole cow, we'll just cut off a steak at a time and eat it. And sorry about that, Senator Birdsell. Yeah, so, I think that's, I'm happy with the language that Senator Perkins Quokka and I worked out, and I know she was working with some other individuals as well. And I think it's an appropriate way to move forward.
Follow up?
Yes, ma'am.
So any municipality that decides that want to try this, if they haven't done it before, they also will run parallel the usual system.
Yes.
Okay.
What is important is, because they're checking in voters, we have to have the ability to maintain a checklist if the e-poll book fails. And, the last thing we want is everything being done electronically on laptops and then have something crash, and then there's no checklist to continue the election. So the amendment would allow a process where it could be a paper record, a paper receipt, or something that gets printed off, and then those names can be physically marked off a checklist so that we have a record running in parallel with the electronic system.
Okay, thank you.
Additional questions for the Deputy Secretary? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the roll. Senator Birdsell, this is on the amendment.
Yes.
Senator Ward,
Yes.
Senator Susie,
Yes.
Senator Perkins Quokka,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Now we have the bill as amended. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the roll. Senator Birdsell,
Yes.
Senator Ward,
Yes.
Senator Susie,
Yes.
Senator Perkins Quokka,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Is there anybody who wants to speak to this one on the floor?
I'll take it.
Let's go.
You'd like to speak to it on the floor?
Well, should I move consent?
It's up to you, Senator.
I will move consent.
I'll second.
We have a motion and second for consent. Senator Birdsell,
Yes.
Senator Ward,
Yes.
Senator Susie,
Yes.
Senator Perkins Quokka,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. And Senator Perkins Quokka, you get a number 2 for today.
All right.
I think you want this one.
I do.
All right. The next one on the list is 47. Senator Susie, I think I saw an amendment come from you.
Yes, I had prepared one, Mr. Chairman. I'm ready to discuss it when you are. I know you had wanted to hear a couple other bills that dealt with similar issues. So either today or at another time. I'm prepared.
We've got 45 or 15 minutes left. So I really haven't, I've gotten that, but because of the Wyndham issues and a few other things that have gone on, I really haven't had a chance even to open your if you wanted to say a few words about what it does, I would.
Sure. So it addresses an issue that was raised by a number of people that testified that day. There are a number of communities where, in every community, the application refers to ward. And that was confusing for some voters to identify. And the information is actually captured by the town or city clerk themselves when they are sending out the application and the ballot and when they're processing. So in an effort to try to make things smoother for the voter, avoid some confusion, and yet still allow the communities to do their processing and sorting, this would just remove that reference to ward.
Okay. Did we do that in Senate Bill 31? I'll go back and look, because I think on that application form, we did take that out.
I think we did there as well. I was just
Oh.
making sure that we're consistent so that we're not.
Okay. It could be that we've got it in two places, but
Not uncommon in the election laws that we have things.
it'll give us time before we exec it to take a look.
Sure, sure.
And I'm sure that Trish will beat me up if I don't do right. So Senate Bill 54. I've skipped 52 for right now. I guess I should give you an update on 52. The Senator Avard has two constituents that were the ones that filed the suit for allowing Nashua's cap to remain in vogue. They now agree on what the language should be. I've sent that to the Senate attorney for him to look at. As a city councilman in Rochester, I've also sent it to the city attorney to make sure that it doesn't mess up Rochester. And I think that's coming out to you guys, if not now, already come out to you. It will be, today or so. And again, if you've got any communities that do have tax cap, I would suggest highly that you have your city attorney review that language to make sure, certainly the citizens who voted for tax caps by a 2/3 or whatever majority deserve to make sure that their voice is heard. I would encourage you to check to make sure that whatever language we come and if the motion is ought to pass, that it won't cause a problem. So if I move on to Senate Bill 54, that was Senator Guida's bill that would have had you sending copies of pictures, etc., as amended by my amendment. So do I have a motion on Senate Bill 54?
I move ought to pass.
We have ought to pass. Do I have a second?
Second.
Senator Ward seconds. Do I have an a motion on amendment 2021-0216S?
I move ought to pass.
And the chair will second that. So discussion on the amendment. The amendment certainly tries to go back and make sure that no one is unduly burdened by having to do anything like taking a picture, faxing the picture, etc. It requests information from the voter, which is already requested on the application to be a voter. Although on that application it is optional. It is information that is already put into ElectionNet, and that if you don't have a New Hampshire driver's license or a non-driver's ID, it does provide the option for someone to provide the last 4 digits of the Social Security number. I know my grandchildren, when they were less than 6 months, it was time to file taxes, and therefore they needed a social security number back then. It is at least that piece of information, but would also allow other information that the clerk would have access to. I believe in the testimony, I talked about an account number for your tax account or your water bill. It could be the two people, if you were married, who stood up with you. They can go back and look at the marriage certificate and find that information. There's a wealth of information that the town clerks are have the ability to go look at. And if you want that to be the thing that proves or identifies you, then certainly that would be allowed. So comments from committee members? Seeing none, I'll call the roll on the amendment. Senator Bertzel,
Yes.
Senator Ward,
Yes.
Senator Susie,
No.
Senator Perkins Quokka,
No.
and the chair votes yes. Okay, we'll move to the bill as amended. Is there any discussion?
I would just say, Mr. Chairman, I do think that your amendment certainly makes the bill better than it was. I still think that this is a solution in search of a problem. I don't think there is an existing problem here that we need to address. I think the system works quite well the way it is, and I just don't see the need for the legislation.
Okay, thank you, Senator. Any other comments? Then I will call the roll. Senator Bertzel,
Yes.
Senator Warden,
Yes.
Senator Susie,
No.
Senator Perkins Quokka,
No.
and the chair votes yes. And I will take that one out. Seeing that we only have 7 minutes left, there's a number of bills that still need some work on there. We've taken care of the 2 FNs, so we're in good shape there. That would mean, is there anyone else that would like to discuss any of the other bills that are on our plate?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
can I just mention my amendment that Marie has just sort of typed and cleaned it up. I added the request by the selectman in Benton about not just having municipality, but having county and communications district involved in that. And then I talked to Chris Hodgson, and he had some suggestions, and I incorporated most of those into the amendment. So that is in pretty good shape right now. And I think we'll send it to Tricia maybe. I do have a question on it. And Chris was going to talk to the New Hampshire Business and Economic Association, or whatever they're called, to find out if they would be willing to maintain the list. And he was going to get back to me, and he has not. So
Okay.
Which bill are we talking about?
88.
88.
Okay. Oh, okay.
There was also suggesting in there, in one of the amendments that was suggested, is that the list be an annual list. That would, if
That was
someone
changed.
someone wanted to be on that list, and you didn't issue it for another year, it would be better if it was a list that you could be put on any time of year and then just call up the current list
Right.
from the list of providers. So,
Yeah, I added that as needed, at least once a year. So that's in there.
all right. We are close approaching the 2 o'clock that I set for a time limit. Anyone
Working
else?
hour.
All right. We will take a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll. Senator Birdsell,
Yes.
Senator Ward,
yes.
Senator Susie,
Yes.
Senator Perkins Cuoco,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn and a second. We'll call the roll. Senator Birdsell,
Yes.
Senator Ward,
Yes.
Senator Susie,
Yes.
and Senator Perkins Cuoco.
Yes,
I
sir.
don't know. The Senator Susie just seems to smile when the motion to adjourn comes. All right. Thank you all and enjoy your caucuses and we'll see you tomorrow